The next 5 minutes will impact the next 5 years of your life. Do not skip it, even if every atom of your body begs you to. I want you to take a look at this red dot carefully. When the test starts, you are going to close your eyes and visualize this red dot in your head, exactly the way you saw it, surrounded by darkness. Once the test starts, for the next 5 minutes, I want you to only and only focus on this image in your head and not have your attention go towards any other thought, sound, or distraction. If it does go elsewhere, then you keep account of it. Let's say if you find yourself thinking about an argument that happened 3 years ago, that means you've lost focus. Firstly, bring your focus back to the red dot that is in your head, and your thought counter now goes to 1 because you got sidetracked by a thought. We will use this counter to evaluate your overall score, so keep track of it. If you fail this test and just cannot sit through 5 minutes without any stimulation, then feel free to skip ahead to about the 6-minute mark, where we discuss the scores and what do they say about your attention span. When I say go, that is when I shall begin the timer, and that is when you close your eyes and start visualizing the dot in your head. And when I say stop, that is when the test stops. During the course of this test, you are not going to receive any form of stimulation, no ticking noises from the timer, no background noise, nothing. So here we begin. Close your eyes now. Ready, set, go. And that is the end of the test. If you made it this far without skipping ahead, then good job. Between 0 to 10, how bored were you during this test? 0 meaning you could have gone on for another 5 minutes. 10 meaning you were extremely bored or that you could not finish the test and had to skip ahead. This is your boredom score and it could be any number between 0 to 10. Now I want you to add your thought counter and your boredom score. And this resultant number is the overall score of your attention span. The lower the overall score, the better is your attention span. And feel free to drop your score in the comments below. It would be fun to look back at it a couple of months from now. If your overall score is under 2, that means you did not have many thoughts, you did not get bored during the test, and you managed to complete the test, then your attention span is pretty elite. If your overall score is between 3 to 5, that means you had a few thoughts, you got a bit bored, but you still managed to complete the test. That means you have a pretty average attention span. And if your overall score is above 5, that means you had a bunch of thoughts, or you got pretty bored, or you did not even manage to finish the test, then your attention span is quite bad, my friend. This means that you're going to have a hard time maintaining focus on long, complicated tasks that require you to only and only focus on that task. You are going to be tempted to multitask or look at other things, or you might just get bored of the task. In this video, I'm going to show how I went from just being able to study 10 minutes a day, which is having an overall score of like 10 plus, to now being able to focus deeply for 4 to 5 hours a day, which is like having an elite level attention span. I went from this kid who failed 3 subjects in high school to now someone who has worked as a software engineer at Fortune 500 companies like Dell Technologies, AMD, Synopsys. Additionally, I became a top performing student in both my bachelor's and my master's program. So back in my poor attention span days, there was one thing that I used to do that completely destroyed my attention span. And to be honest, I see 99% of the people around me doing this, and you could be one of them. The first thing that I used to do each morning, like as soon as I got up, was to actually check my notifications and just scroll through social media for like a good 20 minutes. I used to browse through Instagram and Reddit. And at that point, I hadn't even washed my face, hadn't even brushed my teeth, just laying there, eyes open and scrolling. And this habit of mine continued throughout the day. Anytime I had any sort of packet of free time, I used to fill it up with scrolling, like time between classes, I used to scroll. And at one point, my screen time had gone up to like 3 or 4 hours in a single day. Like I used to feel my phone buzzing in my pocket and I used to check, whoa, if I had any notifications, and turns out that I was just hallucinating. Like that is how bad my phone addiction was. The best way to put it is that my life had been fragmented by me checking notifications. Like every 15 minutes I had to check my notification or scroll through social media. It was one or the other. You see, your brain has this ability to rewire itself based on what you as a person are experiencing. For example, there's a boy who plays football for the next 100 days. Eventually he's going to get better at football. He's going to get better at passing the ball, shooting the ball, controlling the ball. And this is because his brain has now rewired itself to optimize for football. This process of rewiring is called neuroplasticity. And this thing is kind of cool, man. This is how we learn things. This is how we adapt to new things. But this also means that your brain can rewire in a way that you don't want it to. Think about what exactly you're teaching your brain when you're like scrolling through social media. You are literally teaching it to shift its attention every 60 seconds from one post to the next. You are literally shortening your attention span whenever you're scrolling. And this is why I couldn't sit for longer than 10 minutes at my study table, because I got bored. I wanted something new, a new post, a new novel thing. As soon as I finally understood how damaging social media was for my attention span, I instantly uninstalled all these apps. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, literally uninstalled them cold turkey. No moderation, none of that BS. Uninstalled. Just because these apps are designed to be addictive and having them on my screen was tempting. Now initially when I did uninstall them, I did feel a bit of FOMO, like the fear of missing out. Hey, what's going on in this world of social media? Or what if my friends want to contact me, my colleagues want to contact me, that girl who had a crush on 10 years ago wants to contact me. All these thoughts came to me. But I must say this, ever since I uninstalled these apps, not only did my attention span increase, but my overall mental health improved as well. Because I was no longer comparing myself with the thousands of people that you see online, right? Like you could be some guy who's been working out for the past 5 years, you're very dedicated to your diet, you're very, very disciplined, you've been making decent progress, and then one day you come across a reel of some 14-year-old Asian girl outlifting you. Your self-image is going to take a hit. You're going to feel like a loser. And when you do this for hours and hours, see all these people, the highlights of their lives, these winners, you're going to get an unfair sample, and you're going to probably think that you are a loser as well. And so deleting social media has been so good for my self-image in that aspect. Also, this fear that you have that, oh, your childhood crush could contact you, you could DM you, and you could miss out on that. Let me be honest with you, she's not going to text you, bro. At least not when you have the shitty attention span. You need to get work done. For that, you need your attention span, bro. And if someone really wanted to reach out to you, they would do it through other ways. They would give you a regular text. So no one is going to contact you through DMs if there's truly an emergency. Let's say if you're still not convinced and you kind of want to still check out social media for like 5-10 minutes a day, what I would recommend is that you still uninstall the app, and when it's time for you to like check social media, reinstall it. You know, this thing acts like a barrier so you don't accidentally just start scrolling through muscle memory alone, and you have like a fixed window that, hey, after 10 minutes I'm going to uninstall this app and then I'm not going to check it. And only when I consciously decide, you know what, right, this is my time now to check my notifications, perhaps reply back to DMs, perhaps scroll for like 5 minutes, fair enough, uninstall and then reinstall. I think this is the safest way to have social media, because you have some barrier, you have some resistance, you have some work to do before you get all that dopamine. If you're the type of person that enjoys information-based content rather than just pointless entertainment, then make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be making a lot more of these. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is so simple and effective, yet most of the people neglect it, and it costs them their attention span. So back then I thought of attention span as something that is innate, like it's biological. Like some people had it, some people could focus straight up for 4-5 hours, and some people did not have it. And I thought that I did not have it as well. Like I was just born without a good attention span, and that is how I had to live my life. I thought of attention span as something as fixed as my height. Like, okay, this is my height, that's how I was born, there's no way I can grow any taller. So once I had convinced myself that this was the case, that my attention span was fixed and innate, then I eventually stopped doing things that required a lot of focus. All these productive activities like reading and studying, I had stopped them pretty much. My assignments were overdue, my homework was incomplete, and I only used to start studying for an exam just a couple of days before the actual deadline. So my grades were shit too. So this sort of belief that my attention span is limited, cannot be worked upon, cannot be improved, it made me a serial procrastinator. But this strongly held belief of mine, it actually changed. And it happened in the first week that I went to a gym. Like this was my very first week, never had I lifted weights before. And I got introduced to this concept of progressive overload. So in simple terms, it literally means that you start with lifting lighter weights, then your muscles adapt to the stress, this tension that you're putting on it, and then you gradually lift heavier weights. Then your muscles adapt to that, and so on. So you keep progressing. That is pretty much the principle of progressive overload. And this is seen in many domains of life, from running to calisthenics to powerlifting. Then this thought hit me that, what if my attention span was not fixed like my height? What if it was more like my muscles? What if this thing could be trained? What if I could progressively overload my attention span and actually get those gains in terms of my attention span? Now I had actually started seeing my study sessions as gym sessions. Basically, I was here training my mind, and the weights were the work that I was doing. So I got something a bit cognitively demanding, something a bit challenging, and I used to sit there, enable my stopwatch from the point that I started studying, and then I would concentrate, focus on it. And as soon as I was like fatigued or taking a break, even if I got up to pee, I would like pause. The first time I actually sat down to study, I lasted for around 20 minutes before I got bored, distracted, or just burnt out. What I would then do is like every couple of days, I would try to increase this duration by like 5 or 10 minutes. So on day 4, I went for 25 minutes. And on day 7, it would be 30 minutes. One other way that I was overloading my attention span was actually having more study sessions within the same day rather than just increasing the overall duration. So by day 9, let's say my first study session was 40 minutes long. Then I used to take a 15-minute break, go out for a walk, freshen up, and then I would do my second study session. So this is like the second set of the exercise. And this study session would last something around 30 minutes. So this way, the overall volume of work that I did was greater, and I did not even burn out in the process because I had broken down my study sessions into sets. I repeated this exact procedure for like 6 weeks, just working out, training my attention span muscles, increasing the overall duration of each set while adding more study sessions. So duration and sets both increased. And at the end of these 6 weeks, I went from someone who could only focus for 15 minutes a day to someone who could now focus straight up for 4 to 5 hours a day. So these were the two protocols that had a significant impact on my attention span. But the truth is, even though you have this information, it's not going to take you from a 0 to 100, because in addition to these protocols, I had a strong foundation. My diet was optimal, my sleep schedule was optimal, I was living my life by a routine, I was performing dopamine detox. So these two protocols only work when your foundation is solid. If you're eating garbage food and sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a day, then no protocol can actually increase your attention span. So if you would like to work with me to build you a strong foundation, then click on the link in the description and book a one-on-one call with me. I only take on 5 clients at a time. Do it now so you don't miss out.